Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fan the Flames football podcast. Got Kyle and Jeremiah here tonight with me. Unfortunately, James couldn't make it. He's currently on a farm selling ducks. I don't know. I don't know why he knows it's Tuesday nights that we record. So I don't know. He had said he had to go sell some ducks or something. But we miss him. We're gonna miss him for tonight. But Kyle was coming back after I can't even remember where he was at last week. I don't remember the premise for that one. But we're glad to have him back. He's currently sporting a certain team's jersey that I am not a huge fan of, but that we're happy he's back regardless.
Jesus, Ben, you make it sound like I'm wearing a Coastal shirt.
Well, yeah, speaking of Coastal, Jamie Chadwell is hoping that JMU is ranked because they have too weak of a schedule. Anyways, moving on. Kyle, since you weren't on the space, I know you said you don't have a ton of to talk about the ODU game, but just give us a little bit of something, and then we'll kind of move right into the UMass preview.
Yeah, no, I had hoped that it'd be a little bit more of a blowout, but I think it's fair to say we still have ODU's number, which it's been a fun series. We're three games and we've swept them all. It was good to see Caden back on the field. You could very definitely tell like he wasn't 100%. And I think Freeze said in his post game interview that really kind of the reason they switched to Bennett was that they wanted to be able to have more movement in and out of the pocket, and he felt like that would open up a lot of stuff in the game. I think that's the right read. I think we did learn that Jonathan Bennett has about 2 quarters worth of good football in him. Ideally, we're up by a couple scores when those 2 quarters happen, but yeah. No, I thought we went in. We did what we had to do. Day Hunter is a monster. I am so happy. I can't wait till we get TJ back, but we don't need him. Like I said, I can't wait till we get him back. But Day is the truth, man. Wow, what a game. What a game. But no, yeah, it was a great game. It was good to have a game where we're in control from start to finish. We haven't had that this year, I don't think. But yeah, good game. We did what we had to do. That's what matters.
Jeremiah, what do you have to add with that? Follow-up says you were running around like crazy, like a madman on Sunday during our total space, which is fine. This is when you can speak your 2 cents.
Yeah, I think I was able to get out, a decent amount of how I felt. I'm happy with how the game ended. We were in control most of the game. I wouldn't say all of the game. There was a time where they came back and tied it. But once they tied it, we were able to pull back forward, pull back in front. Good game all around, and another win over ODU, another state foe. Loving where this team is heading. So,
yeah, for sure, I agree. Before we get into the UMass game, we are going to talk about our first 5 games. Kind of. MVP. Is what we're going after here. Offensive, defensive MVP. Let me ask you guys this before we go into this, because the reason why I don't want to ask the third phase of the game, because I think we can all agree that Aiden Alves is the special teams MVP. He has been dynamic.
He might be my overall MVP.
Honestly. Yeah,
I'm mostly kidding, but I think there's more than a passable case for it. You talk about a guy who has taken he's basically made up for almost single-handedly some really bad offensive drives by taking what should have been short field positions for the other guys, pinning them back inside the 5 over and over and over again. The defense gets a huge leg up. Thanks to that. I think you could easily argue that the safety a couple weeks ago against Wake, that's Aiden Alves' safety, or it should be. He pinned him on the 1, the defense went in, did their job. Huge deal. So I'm a big fan of Aiden Alves, and I think more than just a little tongue in cheek, but I kind of think you should be in that conversation for overall MVP.
I love the pun there, Kyle. Love the pun
Yeah,
there. Leg
yeah.
up.
There we go. Good catch. Good catch. Jeremiah, what do you have to say about Aiden Elvis?
I agree. I honestly I hadn't really thought about that too much in depth, but he's exactly right. Um, Huge pin backs. He's putting the defense where they need to. He's playing defense on special teams. Like he's putting the defense where they need to be on the field in order to play effective football, like to be able to get the ball back for our offense, to be able to get safety we had. Like that's huge. Like being able to put the opposing offense back on, inside their 10, inside their 25, their 5 yard line, wherever, and then ultimately putting our offense back in good field position. So. Yeah, that's a very good argument. I hadn't thought about that. I like that.
Yeah, I am putting this out here. I don't think Aiden listens to the pod. I saw that he liked my comment of on Twitter. I tweeted out that Aiden Elvis has been incredible this year, and I saw him like it. Shout out to you. But I'm thinking that I kind of want to put him on the pod today. I mean, this week would have been the perfect week because, like, we don't have too much to go into the ODU game. Like I've kind of already stated most of it. I'll, maybe at the end or at some point I might record a little bit of episode of what's going on, just because I want to do like a recruiting pod too, and maybe I'll add in some ODU stuff as well. Because I kind of want to catch up on some of the recruits because some of our recruits have been fantastic. With all that being said, current players, I'd love to have Elvis on the pod. I think it would be awesome, for the brand, as Pat McAfee says. He's someone who's just really made a difference. And, I mean, it's as simple as that. So, defense, our defensive MVP, I'm going to go to Kyle first because I know exactly who he's going to say. And then that gives Jeremiah some time to think about someone else.
I've
Yeah.
got,
Are we all trying to do somebody different, or are we tripling up on the obvious ones?
Yeah, I think we're gonna do someone different just to have some fun. Add to it.
We'll say it.
In that case, I appreciate the defense number one pick. It's got to be Darrell Johnson. It has to be Darrell Johnson. I mean, the guy is having himself a career season and really making the most of that extra year of eligibility, making a real case for himself to be considered part of the part of the draft conversation for next season. I think he's got already a couple of fumbles recovered, a couple of fumbles forced, a couple of interceptions, and 3.5 sacks, maybe more after ODU. I don't remember exactly where we landed. But I think TFLs, tackles. He's always there, always in the backfield, always causing havoc, creating pressure. I don't think there's anybody else that really. There's other guys you could make a case for, but I think Darrell is in a tier of his own. So Darrell Johnson, defensive MVP, I think hands down.
Jeremiah.
All right, so even this year and years past, or whatever, I've always stated my love for Darrell Johnson. Still love Darrell Johnson. Shout out to Darrell Johnson. He's an amazing player. He's contributed so much to this defense. I'm so glad he's on this team. I had this person in mind before he said that, and of course to stay in the doing someone different category, I'm going to go with our safety, Robert Rocket Rahimi, because was it 3 picks now he's had? Like 3 just like lights out picks. It's just saying that the beginning of the games, like setting the tempo, like getting the momentum, right at the beginning, against ODU and the other teams that we played against, like he's just been lights out. Like I just love that he's just been such a ball hawk since coming on this team. He's made a huge impact. So I'm gonna go Rocket Rahimi. I like Rahimi.
3 picks and 2 murders.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. I didn't think about that one. Thankfully, that second one got waved off, though.
I like the Rahimi pick. I think he's great.
Yeah,
and I'm excited. We got him for 2. We've got him for 2 more years.
Yeah, I think this is his first year here, isn't it?
No, he played last year, but I don't know if he played too many games to redshirt.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I
Yeah,
didn't. That's right. You're right. I forgot about that.
he might be a junior. I need to check that though.
I'm gonna look at it right now.
But he should have an extra year of eligibility regardless because of the COVID year.
He is a
Um,
junior.
He gets a COVID year because he wasn't here during the short year.
Yeah.
Yep. He wasn't. He was supposed to be, I believe, if I'm remembering right. I just don't think he could get
Yeah,
here in time or
he
something.
had some decent stats last year, but he only had one pick last year. It's up to 3 already this year.
Yep. So my pick for the defensive MVP, there was going to be a toss up. I mean, I want to shout out Quentin Reese and Javon Scruggs. Trayshawn Clark has really popped off, and he's got 4 sacks. He's actually leading the team. Darrell's at 3.5. Kendi's had some great moments. But and I thought about this, and it's up between 2 of the linebackers, Mike Smith and Ahmad Walker. But I'm going to go with Ahmad Walker because of, man, he does not play like a 19-year-old football player. He plays like he's been playing college football for 6 or 7 years. That's how good his instincts are. He's got 35 total tackles, 15 unassisted, 5 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. He also has a pass breakup and a quarterback hit. And he's also forced a fumble as well. He's just been fantastic. Mike Smith, of course, had an interception, but Ahmad Walker, he's just been unfazed, throughout 5 games. And here's a little fun thing about Javon Scruggs, though. I'm obviously my MVP as of right now, but Javon Scruggs has only played 4 games. He missed last week's, or was it Wake Forest? I can't remember which game he
I think he missed Wake.
Wake Forest.
Was it Wake? Was it Wake?
He played last game.
Yep, that's right. He missed Wake, and he's 3rd in the team in total tackles with 26. That's crazy.
He's a dog.
Yep, him and even Dejan Anthony as well. He's played fantastic as well, despite also missing that same week. So, but I just wanted to also talk about the defense as a whole, just to shout out everybody. But if we were going individually, really love Ahmad. He's doing is to think we have him for 3 more years. I think actually, he'll play for 3 more years because he came in last year, so he didn't get a COVID year.
Sophomore.
Ahmad Walker, he's a monster, right? Like, there's no denying that. I would like to just put in a honorable mention for Mike Smith. Talk about coming in new to a system, making an impact on day one. Like, that guy is disruptive. He hits hard. He flies to the football. I think he's really a keystone in this defense. But I think our 3 picks, I think there's a nice symmetry to it as well.
Yes,
yeah,
for sure.
I gotta concur. Like, there's just way too many guys on this defense to shout out.
Well, it just so worked out that our 3 picks, we got a guy on the line, a guy at linebacker, and a guy in the secondary.
yeah, but that whole defense is just
nasty.
Phenomenal.
I agree. So, offensive picks, Jeremiah, we're going with you first, and Kyle will probably be angry if you choose a certain player.
I'm probably going to get someone angry because, mine's probably going to be kind of obvious. We can shout out people all day. But me personally, I think I'm going to go with Day. Day all day. Love that dude. He's going off. Like, he had 2 rushing and 1 receiving touchdown this past game.
Yep.
And that receiving touchdown was like a 40-some yarder. Crazy. Like, this guy is just a crazy athlete. He's contributed so much to this team. I'm hearing he's just a great person off the field also. That's my guy. Like, I'm glad he's here. I'm really glad he's here.
I agree. Kyle, who is your offensive MVP?
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, yeah. Jeremiah took mine. It's day. That's the answer. But if I got to pick somebody else, I'm gonna go with Caleb Snead. And the reason is straightforward. Demario does Demario things. We know what Demario is. He's always great. It's kind of like when somebody asks what your favorite book is. We just assume everyone is not going to answer the Bible because you take it for granted. It's like we take Demario for granted. Demario is Demario. But you talk about a guy who came in as a transfer from FCS, made an impact. I mean, day one, dude's been lighting it up every game he's played. He's got big body control, the ability to go up and get contested catches. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time. He's made some ridiculous catches. I just think I'm really impressed with what he's done so far, and I can't wait to see what he does the rest of the season. And so I think Day is the obvious MVP on the offense right now. I think you can make a case for Caden, but missed some games. Some big mistakes. We're all aboard the Caden roller coaster here on the pod. So, but I think Caleb Snead, in terms of a guy who's really overperformed already high expectations, for me, I'm gonna go with Caleb Snead.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, he's knocked up right now in the sense of he knocked and nicked up. He's dealing with, I think, from what I saw, like an high ankle sprain or something like that. So he's been out the past couple games. But the games he's played in, you're right. He's been fantastic. And right now his average per game, considering how little we've thrown the football, is pretty dang good for those three first games. He's made some critical catches in some moments that are needed. And with that being said, we could say Demario. He practically almost saved the entire game against Wake Forest himself. If it wasn't for him being at the right place at the right time, at every right time it's tough. But I'm going to shock some people and say honestly, with the Caden thing, I think who's actually been the MVP, probably CJ Yarborough. Before I go into the CJ Yarborough, I do want to shout out JB for the game he played this past week. And also then the times that he has come in, he struggled against Akron, and we can go through that, but he's really stepped up in some moments, especially against even Southern Miss, that I don't want to disregard as well either. Same for Nate, even in some ways. He hasn't had a lot of chances to really make a difference, but finishing off the game strong against Akron's huge. But back to CJ Yarborough. Yes, his touchdown this past weekend was, again, kind of like Demario, right place at the right time. But with that being said, the fact that he took a year off and he dealt with injuries his first 2 seasons of football here at Liberty, took a year off, and now is having the season of his career so far it's immaculate, and I am so hyped for a guy like him. He is truly a guy who cares about this program and is a leader on this program, both vocally and action-wise. His interview that I listened to this past week, as in yesterday, was fantastic to hear his perspective. Before we move on with MVPs, the MVP of the last game was definitely Javian Loft, and that catch is one of the greatest catches. Even though Day went off, I get that, but him making that catch is one of the craziest things that we're ever going to see in Liberty football history. It's going to be something that should be put on banners in locker rooms and should be put, on tapes for recruiting, all of that. So, and he's, again, someone who has battled through injuries to get to the point where he is right now. Last year he literally scored a touchdown his first first catch of the season against Campbell, and gets hurt. When we're like, again, he just has had so much bad luck. So shout out to him. And it's always nice to beat Coastal even when we're not beating them, because I watched that Coastal game. And that was a great play by that running back. But they were number 7. We were number 1. So, 2 beat Coastals in the same podcast.
Yes.
Shout out to Jamie Chadwell and Grayson McCall.
Yeah, like I tweeted about the Javion Lofton catch. Last time I saw a catch that good in a Liberty jersey, it had a hyphenated last name on the back.
Oh,
I mean, what a catch!
Yes.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I personally think it's. I mean, just looking through it, I think it's the best catch. It's one of the best catches I've ever seen in just football in general. So
all over like the sports world, like all over Twitter. Like my entire feed on Twitter at one point was literally this Sports Center, ESPN, this, Bleacher Report, whatever. Yeah, all Javion Lofton.
You want to know the crazy thing? I was out late last night at a dining establishment, and they were still running replays on ESPN 3 days later. After all of Sunday football, like all of the NFL, they were still showing replays of Javion Lofton, simultaneously shades of OBJ and Randy Moss. I mean, what a guy!
That guy got mossed. Yep. My coworkers today, when I walked in, were like, "Man, like that receiver y'all have, like, he made such a great catch." Da, 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 da. It was great.
Yeah, and I expect more out of him this season as we continue to go down this road as we play UMass on the road on ESPN Plus, 3:30 Eastern Time kick. Huge.
Thank God, finally an afternoon kick.
Oh yeah. To be honest, I don't like waiting. I do like it for the home games because it's fun because of the atmosphere. But I know the players and coaches don't really like it sometimes either. I have a feeling that BYU game will be kicked off at 7, 8 o'clock. If it doesn't get, I have a feeling if we win these next 2 games, there's a good chance that it could get put on like an ESPNU. I could very much see that happening. I haven't seen the slate for that weekend yet, but that's all being considered. But you're right. We're gonna have 3:30 kickoffs for the next 2 games, and that's huge to have that. And UMass right now, they've won 1 game against an FCS middle of the road Stony Brook team. They played the Emus, as in Eastern Michigan University Eagles. They played them very tough this past weekend on the road. This defense is very feisty and can be a problem if we let it become a problem and play these guys. And we play down to the opponent, essentially. This has happened before. This is what causes upsets in football, in any sport, actually. Shout out to UVA losing to UMBC in basketball. Shout out to Virginia Tech walking into ODU and getting beat up. When you play down to your opponent, this stuff can happen. And I am not really sure what this means in the sense of, you can always say, well, we're a 26-point favorite. Guess what? We were against Akron, too, and we were at home. So playing against a lesser opponent doesn't always mean a blowout. However, this team has struggled mightily, and they haven't really played anybody but, a few G5 teams, really. So they struggled against Temple, and Temple is not a good team this year at all.
They got shut out by Temple.
Yeah. So,
shut out.
But with all that being said, they do have one of the better defensive coaches, as Hugh Freeze will shout out, and it's Don Brown. He is someone who has been a very good football coach throughout the years. I believe he actually returned. He was at one point the coach for UMass and then came back. He's now just back this year, if I'm remembering right, back when they were an FCS team. And, this isn't, they don't have an Andy Isabel on this team, but they do have a very talented running back in Ellis Merriweather, who this year hasn't had a lot of success. And they also have um, a quarterback who is pretty dynamic on the ground. He's actually leading the team in rushing, and he's not a great thrower. He's actually struggled quite a bit. He's got 5 interceptions, and they don't really have many receivers. They actually have Cam Sullivan Brown, who is a former Penn State player. So I guess we're just going to keep running into former Penn State players. But outside of that, I mean, this team is not that great, but you still got to play football and still got to play the game. Jeremiah, what do you got to say about that?
Yeah, you covered a lot of it. The main things I was looking at is, as I just said, they were shut out by Temple. You mentioned their quarterback. You struggling through the air. You mentioned the 5 picks, but he only has 1 touchdown to supplement those 5 picks. The only one they have is against an FCS team. And then they're averaging only 10.6 points per game and then almost 30 points against. So, pretty rough there. I don't want to downplay, the coach, the defensive coach there, great coach there. And I'm sure he'll have them going in the right direction. But as of right now, it's been kind of rough for them, unfortunately. But again, you never know. Like you said, you got to go in, you got to play football. You can't underestimate, you can't play down. As Coach Freeze would say, it's rat poison. You can't fall for the rat poison, you can't eat the rat poison. So go in, do business, come out with a W. So,
yeah, and I mean, with that being said, you're right. And look at their schedule. They have 3. They've only had 1 home game so far, and that was against Stony Brook. They've had, if did I count this right? 4 away games, and then they finally get a home one. And then they play Buffalo at home, and then New Mexico State at home, and then they have to go 3 straight at the road, and then they finally get Army. And they only have 5 home games this year, and there's 12 games in the season. It's a very tough schedule for a team that is struggling, and it's going to be interesting to play a team like this because we've stated it last week, and we stated it on the Twitter space. We can get some time that you want to blow this team out because you're better than them, but you also want to get some rest for some of these players because our bye week is until after the BYU game. And guess who we play after that bye week? We have to go to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and play Arkansas, who's no longer ranked, but they still have a very good defense and a very good head coach and one of my favorite quarterbacks in the entire country, KJ Jefferson. And, it's not an easy season. Obviously, this is why it's one of the most anticipated schedules in Liberty history, and it's the best schedule in Liberty history. But you got to win games like UMass because of that, because you can't play down to a Virginia Tech even though they're having a very atrocious year. They want revenge from a couple years ago. There's still a lot of football players on that team, and they have connections, I'm sure, with some of the coaches on the staff, even though, of course, some will choose Virginia Tech over Liberty for whatever reason. I mean, Power 5, all that stuff, of course. But I'm sure that, and I know that there's there's at least, I think, 3 or 4 of them that chose Liberty over Tech. And, you can't play down because you have games like that. Is what I'm trying to say. So this is a big week, and Kyle, welcome back. What's your thoughts on the UMass game?
Excited. I think it should be a good game. They look to have much improved defense, and they've been pretty chippy. Held Temple to 28, held EMU to Eastern Michigan to 20. I mean, they did give up 42 to Tulane in week 1 and 55 to Toledo in week 2. So hard to say, hard to say exactly how good that defense is, but it does worry me a little bit, especially as we've been a team that kind of struggles to get things going on offense in the early parts of the game. I do kind of have similar worries to what you were mentioning. Idea of going in and playing down to the level of the opponent. We're at UMass. I wouldn't say it's one of the tougher atmospheres in college football, but road games are always harder to win than home games. Just that simple. And I think we kind of saw a little bit of that playing down to the competition in the Akron game. Now Akron's a better team than their record would suggest, but I still think that there was some of that there. So I think this should be a game that we handle. I think we should come out of here with a nice convincing win. But college football games are hard to win.
And I will say, looking at Toledo, I mean, Toledo's probably the best team in the MAC West this year. They're very talented. They had to play. They lost to San Diego State 17-14, and they got 77 hung up on them by good old Ohio State, which is expected, especially when you have to go to the shoe. But with all that being said, also, of course, Tulane. Tulane's really good. They beat Kansas State, who's a very good football team. And geez, if I might be in the streets of every AP poll voter if they didn't rank Kansas and Kansas State this week. I would be out there picketing and rioting with the rest of them. Not really, They have played some quality opponents, but at the same time they've struggled against some pretty bad teams too.
And here's the thing: like no matter how good their defense is, their offense should just not be able to get anything going against our defense. If this defense is half as good as we all think they are, this should be really a statement game. I feel like the final scores of our games thus far this season have really, they've looked a lot worse on the defense than I feel like we all think they've played. At least a lot of them have. So I'd like to see a game where the final score makes our defense look as dominant as they feel. You know what I mean? So, the highest UMass's highest scoring game so far this season was 13 points last week against Eastern Michigan. They put up 0 against Temple. Oh, sorry, no, it's 20 points against Stony Brook. Yeah. So their highest scoring game, their highest score against an FBS team was 13 points against Eastern Michigan. They put up 0 against Temple, 10 against Toledo, 10 against Tulane. We should be able to go in. I mean, we should be able to win this game with 12 points. To be perfectly honest. I don't think we will, but we should be able to. I think the defense should have their way with the Minutemen offense.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing, with the FCS team that they beat at home, which was Stony Brook. Stony Brook hasn't won a single game this year, and they won't win another one this week because they play against New Hampshire on the road, and New Hampshire's a very good FCS team. With all that being said, you're right. We should win by 12 to nothing. At that point, I predict this game. Once we get to the prediction games, it's going to be a big win, and I really do think that it's going to be needed. Not just a win, but a blowout win is needed. It's good to win and be able to say, okay, all of our starters take a break. Some freshman that wants to use one of their 4 games that hasn't or whatever, come on, play, get some reps. Nate Hampton, go out there, throw the football. I want to see that. If we see that, I am happy. If we don't see that, I would be, first of all, shocked, and second of all, man. And you're right. Yeah, it's tough to win college football games. But the talent differential between Liberty and UMass is so great that this shouldn't happen. Right. Jeremiah, what else do you have to add?
No, that was a good point. I think it's going to be a big win. Like we stated before, I kind of want to see some of our guys who are kind of banged up a little bit. First stringers. Caden for one. let them get a little bit of rest, let them be able to kind of recuperate for the bigger games. But I still think we're going to win by a pretty large margin. Maybe not as large of a margin as I originally expected, but I'll get to that when we do our predictions. But it'll be a good one. I think it'll be good.
Kyle, prediction for the game.
Well, I ran the numbers and was really confused by the outcome, so I ran them again, and I got the same outcome. It was a little confounding, but in this house we believe in the metrics, we believe in the analytics, and in honor of this very special theme game night, my prediction: UMass 0, Liberty 69.
I will allow that. And I hope that does happen. Why not? If Ohio State could hang 77 on Toledo, and then Toledo can put 40 or 55 on UMass, let's go with it. Jeremiah, what's your score prediction?
Okay. All right. So, as I said a second ago, originally I had a much higher score on our end going into it, earlier in the season or whatever. But given the fact that we're probably going to give some guys some rest, at least I hope so again, my final score prediction, I think, is going to be something around 34-6.
Nice.
Just because they're at home, I think they're going to get some points. Albeit it could be garbage time, get a field goal or two, but that's what I'm thinking. 34-6.
I mean, no offense to Richie with long shots, but why have Richie long shots when you have a Kyle Griesinger? You know what I mean? If you have a Kyle Griesinger, you're already set. You know what I mean? My prediction for the game: 42-7 Liberty. That's my score line. That's I think we're gonna throw up
When's
a lot
that
of
7
points.
come? Fourth quarter?
First drive. I think they might stomp down the field. I could see it happening.
Interesting theory.
I could also see it in the fourth quarter, but I don't really see anything between. I could see a garbage time 7, but I could also see it happen and everybody what's going on? Because if something happens, you never know. It's college football. I mean, I've seen crazier things happen this year.
I was thinking the UMass opening drive field goal.
Yeah. Then 7 points by UMass. I mean, but who knows? I mean, if they were here like last year, I could see the same score as last year. It was 62-10, I believe. I could see that happening. Only a touchdown away from 69. What do you know? So not too far off. But Jeremiah, do you have anything else to add for the game before we sign off?
I lost it. Whatever it was after that comment, I lost it. I'm sorry.
Kyle.
Did I derail you there, Jeremiah?
A little bit. A little bit.
I got nothing. Let's go get this dub.
Let's do that. Let's get a nice shutout, cover the spread. I'm not into the whole spread and stuff, by the way. I've never been, but...
if there was ever a game to take the over, though, I think it's 50.5 points.
Ooh, yeah. I can see that happening.
Yeah, it is.
But I am a little nervous, even though I predicted the over with what? I actually predicted the under because I did 42-7, so that's the under. It'd be great to see them hit the over as well, just for this, and hopefully the over being 98% Liberty points. With all that being said, thank you both for making it. James, we miss you. We hope everything's going well. We'll see you next. What?
Hope all of his ducks are in a row.
Dang, that's actually that's solid.
Come on, Kyle.
Boo! Boo! This man! Boo!
We'll see you guys Sunday for our Twitter space. Actually, we won't. I juked you guys out. We will not be having a Twitter space because I'll be at a wedding. So that will not be possible.
Lame.
I know. That's as Josh Pate says, shout out to him. It is sacrilegious to have a wedding in the fall during football season. But and I love the fall. And I actually, one day when I hopefully, God willing, get married, I do want to have it in the fall. But I don't know. It'd have to be during a Liberty bye week. That's for sure.
Same.
Yep.
Can I make a shout out before we leave?
Sure.
This is going to be over by the time this is aired, but shout out to a Sea of Red. I'm going to go watch the end of their podcast.
Yes, for sure. Fan the Flames, and God bless. I'll see you guys next week.
Go Flames.